And welcome, race fans. We would like to send out an apology on the last broadcast. We had some technical difficulties with the feed. Technology is great when it decides to freaking work right. It is an amazing thing. Again, we feel awful about that because from what we had seen on there, the Dirt Street Stock put on a good race. And Jonathan Henry got his first win this season, and we were not there to capture that. So again, we'd like to apologize. We feel bad for that, but we will see what we can do to try to make it up for Jonathan Henry. Again, it's happened before, but we will see what we can't do with making this one here last just a little bit longer, and try to get through this entire broadcast with minimal issues. As always, I am Dustin Logston. Alongside me is the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. J. Stan, Jeremy Stanley. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm still doing pretty all right. The street stocks put on a hell of a show, so yeah, definitely unfortunate that the stream went down, but we're gonna try and make this one, even better than last week, just to kind of make up for it. So looking forward to tonight. Got some new names up from the top there, and it's definitely an interesting track to watch. I'm curious to see how these drivers tackle this race tonight.
Yeah, and you were talking about the track. Again, we are at Fairbury Speedway in Fairbury, Illinois. It is a very tight, small track. It's right at a quarter of a mile in length. So again, very tight, very small track. We are here for the Full Send Gaming Nationals. Again, these cars, they throw it into the corner. They throw it hard. We talked about it leading up into the Dirt Street Stocks before the technical difficulties, that these drivers are going to have to fish around. They're going to have to work both lanes here to prevent it from being a one-lane track. We've seen some of the drivers doing that in practice leading up to qualifying, which qualifying is coming to a close. We'll go over the starting lineup here momentarily. But we've seen a lot of the drivers starting to fish around, Jeremy, to see exactly what they could find, what might be there, what might not be there. We've seen some drop on that low line, that mid line, but we did see a lot of them going up on that high line, and that was where the fastest laps are going to be at. But again, Jeremy, as we've seen yesterday and in the Dirt Street Stock Series, that can all change as that top side gets slick.
Yeah, it's a very interesting approach because it seems like the outside always kicks up early, and then when that starts becoming like an ice patch there on the top of the, even more so in the center of the corner, it kind of just naturally drives the cars down to the bottom of the track, and so the groove is completely 180s itself about halfway through the race, and whenever that happens, then you see a lot of different lanes show up, and a lot of people start changing their strategies, and some people have their gearing set for low and then on top, but when the track changes so much, then you have to shift up, and it's just a huge gear difference between the top and bottom that, it changes some people's driving styles up a little bit, something maybe they'll not be comfortable with, and it definitely presents some fun challenges for us in the broadcast get to watch it. We don't have to do that work, so it makes it fun to watch up here for sure.
Absolutely. And as you talked about the broadcast, that brings to mind sponsors. Again, we have to thank those that have helped the Racing League over the limit, as well as this broadcast, making everything happen. Mini Motorsport Doors. Again, novelty racing memorabilia. These are solid aluminum door panels, miniature sized, obviously. They're not going to sell the big ones because they would be a whole lot more than what they sell these for, guarantee it. But again, they are small sized. They look just like the side panels on the sides of cars that you're going to see out here on the track momentarily. Again, they come in two sizes, 11 inches, 21 inches at $15 and $30 respectively. Again, really cool. You can put real life information on there. You can put sim racing information. You can put your real driver information on there. Whatever sponsors you want to put on there. The limitation is only at the imagination of the buyer. But again, go check out their product. Go check out their prices. You find them on Facebook at facebook.com/Mini Motorsports. We'd like to thank Full Send Gaming, the official sponsor of the bounty system here at Over the Limit. Again, the bounty system was something that had just been put into play over the last couple of weeks, and we have had a driver cash in on that bounty. That was $10, either via PayPal or iRacing credit. Again, really cool feature that they do, but Full Send Gaming also helps out with a lot of the stuff behind the scenes as well. So again, check out Full Send Gaming. I want to thank, of course, Nerditudes. Not going to harp on ourselves so much because Nerditudes houses Nerd TV. But again, we have you covered when it comes to gaming. Anything gaming or simulation related, we got you covered. We have streamers for that. We have write-ups. We have stories. You name it, we can do it. So again, that's Nerditudes. Get your nerd on, nerditudes.com. And finally, Hideaway Motorsports, competitive setups and coaching. Dedicated team of professionals. They work round the clock all week long, building setups to follow the actual schedule, the official schedule. They host coaching sessions because, again, the setup is good, but you have to have that driving ability to handle those sessions and those setups when it actually comes to it. So, again, the coaching sessions help that out. Dedicated. Very nice professional group of guys. Again, you need help, you want help, or if you just want to shoot the shit and have some fun with like-minded individuals, again, check out Hideaway Motorsports. It's hideawaymotorsports.com. All right, Jeremy, it has come to time now. We know that qualifying is done and set. Everything is good to go. Drivers have laid down their times trying to go for that top quick time. Again, this is just going to lay out the heat race starting order. The A main starting order is based on the finishing order of the heat. So with that said, why don't you take us through our starting grid as far as pole?
Yeah, so fastest time, Matthew Bixby, both in practice and in the qualifying session, just blistering lap times. Creeping up on that track record from what I was hearing back in the garage. So, I mean, he's on a whole nother zip code right now. Second place in qualifying is Sean Krawcheck. Third place, getting some speed finally in that car, man. He's sitting in third place right now in this qualifying session. Justin Pentikoff.
Mic off.
Fourth place, Kevin Robinson is going to round out the top five, and Shane, for whatever reason, did not make qualifying, at least at this time, so he'll round out tonight's qualifying field.
Yeah, and you were talking about the qualifying times. Again, very fast times around this small quarter-mile track. I do believe the practice time as far as world record was 12.3. You've seen that the times were getting very close there. Bixby was getting just a tenth off of that at a 12.4. So again, these drivers know how to get around these tracks. They're fast at it, and they're damn good at it. And they're gonna let us know, and they're gonna roll it off. What are we expecting to see tonight, Jeremy? I mean, I know we had talked about that high line. We're expecting that high line to come in, but I don't know. I see that low line play a bigger factor towards the end of this race than what we have seen in previous races thus far.
Yeah, last night was more of a high line, especially on the street stocks, but that's what the fix set, right? Everyone's running the same setup, and so it's only geared toward either high or low, but since these guys can mix up their setups for tonight, different story. The street stocks produced a lot of low line racing, surprisingly, out the box. I think 2 or 3 cars went down right away, and as the field or the race progressed, more cars went down there, which we also did see for a little bit there at the end of last night's street stock race. So for these big black cars, from what little hands-on I've had with them and what I've seen in practice and whatnot, they're going to be all over the place, really, from the drop of the green flag. You know, it's qualifying times were produced on the high side, it looked like, but for the race, that's a whole different animal. And if you want to get that low line going, you got to get down there early and kick some things up. So I expect quite a few cars down there at the bottom to start this race.
And I agree. They're going to have to start it early, and they're going to have to work on it because we know that there's going to be a set number of drivers, typically the drivers that have been pulling those fast laps, that are probably going to jump to that high line to try to space out that spacing as much as possible. Drivers that we have seen pull fast laps, like Matt Bixby has been pulling fast laps. I would expect to see Krawcheck jump into that high line. But again, Krawcheck is one of those that knows that that low line is probably going to play a factor later on in the race. We had a chance to talk with him prior to the race as they were getting the track set up from the dirt street stocks to this one here. Again, it can go any way possible, but they are definitely going to have to start setting and prepping that low line early on and fast.
Yeah, with that conversation with Sean there, he was talking about how these cars, they present themselves to be really wide in the corners and even on the straightaways, just because how big the car is and how much sliding they have to do. So he was mentioning that it produces a really hard time for the driver to pass anybody, especially if it's a single groove track. Like, you can just forget about it. So it's crucial to get your line set up early. Know what your game plan is. You can't wait on the driver in front of you with these cars at this small track. Wider tracks you can get away with it, but this track it's really just you got to get it going early where you need your car to be. Looks like we got about a lap left until the green flag of our only heat race here. Cars are side by side. Only one heat race, so everyone's in that position that we talked about earlier. Set up the grid. Pace truck is down, creeping into turn 3, waiting on the flagman to say go, go, go. And there it is. Green flag is out. Matthew Bixby gets a really slow start to Sean Krawcheck. Just 2 or 3 car lengths easy. Gives him that top spot. 2-3 wide behind him. Sean Krawcheck checking out here. Kevin Robinson running really low here. Does a nice job of keeping his momentum there on the very bottom. Keeping it 3 wide for over a half a lap and then some. Still 3 wide. This is quite impressive to watch, Dustin.
It is. These drivers are letting it hang out there. You had talked about Krawcheck seemed to catch Bixby sleeping on that start there a little bit. But some of these drivers we've seen struggling during practice, Robinson being one of those, seems like he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And he is the driver that is diving the lowest out of all of the drivers so far. Most of them seem like they are hugging that high line and bringing that high line in. I tell you what, Jeremy, it seems like Kevin Robinson might have the right idea trying to get that going low, because that's eventually, with that many cars running up there, that high line is going to get slick.
And he qualified toward the back, right? So it doesn't matter to him. He qualified 5th, and he's running 5th. So why not practice? Why not do what you got to do to get your line set up for the race? Like, he's not going to lose any positions up in the main field. So Kenny hits the wall kind of hard there in turn 4 there, coming to the checker flag. Still finished in 4th place, it looks like there. So Sean Krawcheck, to round out the field there, takes your top spot because he caught Matthew sleeping there on the start. Everybody else kind of just followed suit in the same running order as they started. They're going to actually a little bit of change up here too. They're going to do a little bit of warm up before the feature tonight.
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, it was good racing that was going on, and the drivers are feeling around. They're trying to figure out what's working. Obviously, we know that Krawcheck knows what's going on and what's working. As he was, out there, he had the good line going on that high side, but Bixby was really coming in and coming in fast. And you can't count out Bixby's teammate of Justin Pentecoff either. They were both pulling real fast laps during practice and qualifying. And Pentecoff is usually one that he's better on those longer runs when he can get his car set in. That's why you usually see him really put his nose in there about midpoint of the race on to the end, where it would count the most. That's when you start seeing Pentecoff's 25 car a whole lot more.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't try to get all he can early on. He definitely lets the track come to him, and so and that strategy is probably going to work more so here than some other tracks, just because of how slick things get if you run that same groove over and over, because of how tight this track is. So, yeah, no, I expect him to be up there late into the run for sure, putting some pressure on him. Matthew Bixby, see if he can kind of get back in front of Sean here once the green flag flies, because right now his car is definitely the fastest by far, unless Sean had found something rather in between the heat race and the main here tonight.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, it's anything could happen in these dirt races. I mean, we've seen the strangest things going on. Somebody that had the race in the bag, and next thing you know, um, they're running low on fuel, and they can't run the fast line up top. They have to run that low line, and they get passed on that high side. We've seen that happen with Jordan Gage and Sean Krachek. That happened one of the races, and Sean ended up taking that win. So anything could happen when it comes to these races. One thing we want to let you guys know is we're watching Bixby right now pulling some laps as you just see Pentecoff had it turtled there on the backstretch, and Bixby gave him a little bit of help to spin it around top style. You're going to see these cars really throw it into the corners, Jeremy, especially on that high line. So it's not going to be uncommon to see these cars scraping that right rear against that wall, trying to shave it off, or just scraping the entire right side Nerf bar against that wall and then getting a bite off the corner. It's common practice, especially at this track here, that you see that. And sometimes, I mean, it gives those drivers that better bite. They just got to be careful not to do major damage to the car, depending on how hard they hit. We've seen Kenny Haight hit the wall pretty hard there in that heat race, and we've seen him hit it hard in practice, too, and we could see kind of what that does to the cars. So they got to be careful.
The good thing it's a digital world that they're driving in right now, because that little spin-a-roni from Booker T that Justin did there in turn 3 and 4, his car would have been toast for the race, but quick reset, no problem, good to go. But as for that wall, yeah, that you have to push the limits on this track. That's where the groove is. The banking kicks up right at the very top of the track. A lot of cushion up top, and so try to find any extra speed, any extra drive off the corner at this track, especially because of how tight and how low the gear gets. You have to run as high as you can, and so that it kind of like the Darlington of asphalt. You just kind of have to get your right rear right up against that wall, shave off a couple of quarter inches to lengthen that car out a little bit even higher. And that seems to be what you need to do on the start, especially until the low side kicks in, is you got to really extend your track as wide as you can to get that fastest speed.
Yeah, and as we're on board right now with Kenny Haight, you were talking about scraping the wall with that right rear. We're looking at his right rear, and he is just mere inches off that wall, going through the corners and down the straightaways as he's prepping to throw it into turns 1 and 3. So you can see exactly how close these drivers are and how close to the limit that you had mentioned that they really are pushing it with these cars. So again, it's very minimal room for error when it comes to these drivers at this track.
Yeah, you have to. You have to early on. Produces some really good racing too. If you can get a guy in the bottom and top, because of how much cars have to slide up in the bottom because they get so bogged down. Even just to drive off the exit of the corners cuts it really close, and on the top of that, the guy on the top has to worry about the guy hitting him from the bottom, and as well as not slapping the wall really hard because of how sharp these corners cut off toward the straightaway. So definitely produces some really close action.
Yeah, and it does. Something else that you're going to see a lot of is slide jobs. I mean, we see a lot of it in the Pure Stock series that we broadcast prior to this series here, and we see it in the Big Block Modifieds as well. We also see it on Tuesday nights in the Pro Late Models. We see a lot of slide job moves there. This track here is one that breeds it because of the size, the line, the banking, and everything else. It breeds slide jobs, and if they can get that good run or that good entry into turns 1 or turn 3, they can definitely clear and complete a slide job coming out of 2 or 4.
You gotta execute perfectly when you do that too, because that car really gets so slow on the exit when you do a good slide job that you can either slap the wall really hard and cause a lot of trouble, a lot of headaches for a lot of people, or you just get freight trained whenever you make that happen. So you gotta be precise at this track when you're trying to get that slide job going. We got a pace truck should be pulling down this time by. Sean is going to lead you guys to the field here, or to the green rather, which the pace truck does dip down, waiting on the flag, and once again to say go, go, go. There it goes. Green flag is out. Sean almost got caught sleeping. That restart kind of kept level there with Bixby there as he resumes the lead. 3 wide, little early contact between Justin and Kenny. Three wide still. Again, the same story as the heat race number 1. A little more racy these guys are, it looks like. Early on here is Bixby does resume the top spot where he was in qualifying, so I expect nothing but him, or I expect him rather to, find his groove and show what kind of speed he's got tonight.
Yeah, I tell you what, and that was a power move beyond belief. I mean, Bixby went through the center in between his teammate Pentecoff and the one of Kracek. So I mean, that was a gutsy power move there. But I mean, he made it stick and made it stick very well. You see that Kracek is falling in line again. They're all racing that same line there. And they've each the Bixby kind of rides that wall a little bit. That's what we were talking about. It allows Kracek to pull up to the side, but that run coming off of those corners is just too much as it sits right now. That there's got to be a little bit more wear and tear in that top side there, get it a little bit slicker for that bottom side to even up and have a chance. But as these two are racing, the 46 of Kenny Hates, who was struggling a little bit in practice and finally found some speed, is sitting in third, but he's getting some attempts here on that low side by the 25 of Pentecoff. Justin has been riding that mid to low there and has been changing his lineup the last couple laps. Now he's kind of sticking to that high side, looks like try to get some speed, but he had been entering about mid to low and trying it out down there to see what's going on as these drivers are now starting to space out a little bit.
Yeah, a little uncharacteristic there for Justin. He typically kind of follows suit and runs his line, but it looks like he's actually searching a little bit early, which I don't know if his setup's where he needs it to be, but he's searching a little bit. Or maybe just trying what the future holds down there later on the night's event. But yeah, Kenny's showing some good speed right now. Very consistent on the top side there, just lightly grazing the wall. Kicks a little harder sideways than some other people off the exit, which is hurting some straightaway speed. But a couple cars in the wall there. Sean and Kenny, I think, just had the domino effect. He kind of just followed them into the wall. And that's allowing Matthew Bixby to pull out to about a 10 car length advantage, which is like half a straightaway here because of how small this track is. As he just yanks more ground, almost a whole straightaway at this point. Matthew is starting to finally get his groove on. Side by side, Kenny and Justin Pentecoff is. We're lap 13, so almost halfway of tonight's event. This is where we kind of see Justin starting to find his groove a little bit more and find some extra speed.
I tell you what, Pentecoff and Haight have been going at it nonstop for about the last 5-6 laps now. Kenny had grazed that wall, allowed Pentecoff to pull up alongside, and they were side by side for 5 laps or so there until Kenny finally prevailed on that one on that high side. Just not enough going on that low side to get that grip, and that high side hasn't slicked up. It's starting to get a little bit of a sheen. It's starting to get a little slicker as you see a lot of these cars on that high side. They're kicking it sideways, coming off a little bit more than what we're accustomed to from the start of the race, so that's telling you that high side's starting to slicken up just a little bit.
It looks like it's a little bit lower too from what I'm used to seeing anyways, just from yesterday and the street stock race. The machine's a little bit lower, so the right rear is not really affected at this moment in time, so that's kind of changing the perspective of what we thought was going to go on with tonight's event. So a little bit of game change. It looks like Justin Pentecoff got a little bit of an issue there on the backstretch, really slowed up. He's still searching. Like, I guess he's not finding his groove like we're used to seeing him leading the run. He just can't run the top. He has to run the bottom, and nobody else is. It's not helping him. I expected the line to be a lot lower, and he's trying anything he can, but it looks like he's just falling back farther and further each lap. Matthew and Sean about the same distance apart for the past 5 or 10 laps or so. Just kind of holding their own line there. No one's really trying to do anything on the bottom. So, running that same line, you're not going to really gain much ground. And I guess Sean just heard me because he goes to the bottom there and tries to make something happen. I think that shift might happen for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's going to have to. Like you said, I mean, that line sits a little lower where that slick stuff is. You're starting to see that slick line come in. It's a lot lower than what we had seen it in any of the previous racing series at this track. But again, that's where we kind of get ourselves in trouble, Jeremy, is because we try to base it off of different series that we've seen, and these can go so many different ways that it's so hard to judge on what's going on. I mean, we knew the high side was going to be fast, but we didn't know if the high side was going to stay fast all race long, if the low line was going to come in. We were speculating that low line was going to come in, but these drivers are spacing it out now that I don't know if that low line is going to have a chance to go in as we come to 10 to go.
If it does, they're so spaced out. I don't know, Dustin. I don't think there's going to be enough speed for one guy to make up that much ground in between these cars here. So it's going to require a big mistake from one of these drivers to hit the outside wall potentially, or get too slick and get loose. It's going to take a major incident here. But Sean really out of shape there entering turn 1 and 2. Really upset the car. That provided Matthew a full straightaway advantage here with just under 8 laps to go. Pentecoff is really digging on the bottom now. I think he's found his little groove, inching closer and closer to Kenny. As Kenny actually gets to the wall a little bit, his car seems to be struggling here. Yeah, he's having a terrible drive off there, gets stuck on the wall, and Justin and him are now side by side.
Yeah, it looks like that drive off of that low lane, though, not having to worry about that wall on that high side and that pull to the right, is helping Justin so much. As you see the 46 of Kenny struggling on that high line, on that exit. I mean, he's good through the corner, but when it comes to that exit, he's struggling with that. Pentecoff does maintain, does fully pull into that third. He's dedicated to that low line, Jeremy. I mean, he is stuck down there. We do have a caution out on the track, and it looks like it's going to be the 60 of Kevin Robinson.
Not sure what's going on there, Dustin. He was probably 5 seconds off the pace, just himself creeping on the bottom, and somehow turned up and ramped the inside tire there and parked it. And it caused the caution. And of course, he had to throw the caution, but because of a car being stopped on the track. But I don't know what's going on there. Don't know if the car just something broke in it or what's going on, but that was kind of a really, really weird incident.
Yeah, I don't have an explanation on that either. I don't know if it's because we do know that in practice he was struggling a little bit. He could have lost it coming off of that. He was just trying to regain it coming back into the corner. But I don't know. Maybe he just misjudged where that tire was at. And it happens, and these tires, I mean, they're solid. They don't go nowhere. So, I mean, he just popped it and got stuck on it. It's unfortunate, though, because like I said, we were talking pre-race because we were seeing some of these drivers struggling, and Fairbury is not an easy track to get a grip on or to get a handle on either. That, Kevin Robinson was one of those that's, he's a solid driver, and we usually don't see him struggling at a track, and he's struggling here today like a number of the drivers are.
Yeah, correct. Green flag is underway. We do have a 3-lap shootout here. Matthew's probably screaming Robinson's name right now because he had this race in the bag, and now he's got to fight for it here. Decent restart. Sean's still keeping up right up on his rear bumper here, or bar rather, but both running the same line right now. Someone's going to have to give. Someone's going to have to change their lane to make something happen. That being Sean, because I don't think Matthew's going to leave that top. He has not done so this whole entire race. Is that the white flag that was out? I think, yeah, the white flag is out. Sorry, I thought I saw the checkered flag. Sean's going to go real deep into turn 3, makes that slide job happen. Matthew gauged it just right and got a hell of a run up turn 4 and secures the top spot.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about was those slide jobs. I mean, that was the last-ditch effort that Krawcheck was trying to do. I mean, he was Supermaning it going in there. He didn't have the bite coming off the corner, and that's what we were talking about was that bite coming off the corner trying to make it stick. Just couldn't happen. It slides up too much, and you scrub off so much speed. And as long as that driver that you just tried to slide job on, as long as they hold their line just like Bixby did, I mean they're going to get that run off every time.
Every time, indeed. It just gets so bogged down. Like that's all Sean could do. He did the best what he could, and Matthew saw it coming from a mile away and took advantage of it. Passed him right back before he got to the checker flag. Dustin, we're going to go over the final results here of tonight's event at the Full Send Gaming 35. We'll call it that because we didn't get the call out last time. But so Matthew Bixby will be hold the top spot for tonight's event. Sean Krawcheck will take home second place. Justin Pentikoff works his way up to third. Kenny Haight falls back to fourth place. And Kevin Robinson, with a car that very upset the whole night, will round out your field in fifth place.
Yeah, it is safe to say that a number of these drivers are going to be happy to see Fairbury in their rearview mirror as they're heading off into the next week's venue. Again, it's an unfortunate thing with some of these, but drivers can't be fast at every single track. I mean, that's what makes racing exactly what it is. Again, the results that you just mentioned are unofficial, but I don't see any reason why they would be altered or any penalties would be issued out, as they are reviewed by race admins after the race, and any penalties can be issued out post-race. Again, we were talking about Pentikoff coming in. Again, he's usually there midpoint of the race, on to the end. He's usually right up there around that top three podium, and he got himself that third place tonight. So again, excellent racing all around. And I'm surprised that any of these cars still have a right side Nerf bar or even side panel left on these cars, the way that they were bouncing off those walls and scraping them.
Yeah, I mean, they were digging for sure, and a lot of sparks were flying. But yeah, somehow they kept all the body parts intact. I didn't see anything come off. I don't know about you, but yeah, kept it parked free on the racetrack. I do believe we have our third place finisher, Mr. Justin Pentikoff. Justin, you have a copy with us tonight.
Yeah, I got you.
Justin, we were talking about you being that late race contender, and it looked like you were searching a little bit early on, which was a little uncharacteristic. But you did manage to find the podium spot in third place. Tell us from your perspective, how was your car tonight?
I mean, it was good. I got a thing with running the top. It's just something I got to work on myself. So I was really hoping the bottom would come in, and it never really did. I just got lucky enough to be able to catch Kenny. I think he might have slipped up once or twice there, and I was able to get by and hang on to third.
Yeah, he was running that top spot for a safety, and it definitely got a little slick up there, as it usually does. And his car was not. It doesn't look like it was built for that kind of that looseness up at the top, and so it did collect him into the wall a few times. And then you did finally find a groove at the bottom, and finally took advantage of that with his mistakes, and you found a groove on the bottom finally there. How did you approach this race, and what was your thought process on how it was going to go?
I mean, during the practice, I knew it was going to be mainly top fast in the beginning, so I tried running that and tweaking the setup a little bit just to see if I could run it. And I just kept banging off the wall, so I tried to find something that would work at least middle to low line and try to at least survive until the end.
And survive is what you did. And again, right to that third place podium finish. And Jeremy is right. We were talking pre-race, building up to that when we called your name, that it's typical that you're a long run driver. So a lot of the times you will see your name and your car come in mid race on back, which like we were talking about, that's where you want to be at, and that's where you want to be the strongest. Is that by plan, or is that just by order of virtue that it just works out that way?
No, I think it's a lot of it takes me that long to remember to get my foot off the throttle and kind of ease into it and not spin the tires as much. And by the time I remember, it slicks off and works out for me in the end.
Absolutely, it does. So with that being said, we've seen a number of drivers seeming like they were having issues with this track alone. And this track, for no bigger than what it is, being right at a quarter of a mile, I mean, it can be pretty tricky. Especially when everything's hanging on that high side there. Did you expect there to be more struggles than what we actually seen out there as far as that high side, knowing that these drivers hang it out there right on that ragged edge and that wall jumps out and bites at any given time?
Yeah, that's kind of one thing I was worried about, was being only 35 laps. I didn't know if it would go off enough for me to even be able to be a contestant in this, but it's hard when it's only 35 laps. You only got 6 cars on it. It's going to stay up there a little bit longer than it would typically. So I had to find something kind of middle ground to be able to run and at least keep up with everybody.
I tell you what, I mean, you made the right call. You made the right adjustments on that, knowing where you would run. It got you in that podium. Again, it's you are eking and edging ever so close to that top spot each and every week that we see you. And it's really good to be talking with you here in the post-race interviews. It was a well-earned, hard-fought podium finish. So again, glad to see you in there, and with your teammate as well, running in there. So again, 2 drivers in the top 3 podium. So it's got to be a good night for you. Is there anybody you'd like to thank out there? Any sponsors you'd like to holler at?
Yeah, for sure. I got to thank IndyCar Raceway and Dispatch Brewing Company, RDR Racing, and of course my teammate Matt helping me with what I'm doing wrong and being able to fix that a little bit. So thank you guys for putting on the stream.
Hey, and we appreciate you guys showing up. Like I said, I mean, the racing stays the way that it is. I mean, it's always good racing. It's always clean racing. It's a very technical racing when it comes down to it. So again, well-deserved podium, 3rd place finish. So again, that is Justin Pentecoff, and the number 25, that is your 3rd place finisher.
All right, looks like we also do have our 2nd place, Mr. Run-Up, Mr. Sean Krawcheck. Sean, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Sean, it looked like Matthew had it in the bag, and then you found yourself in a position to go for it one more time. Hell of a crossover there, move there, entering the final corners of 3 and 4. What was your game plan after that? After you saw the caution, like what did you think? What was going to go through your head, and how were you going to try to tackle getting that top spot from Matthew?
I knew I would end up having to throw like a haymaker or something. It's very top dominant, so the only way you're going to be able to pass is slide drop or anything like that. My car was really tight, so I don't know. I was having issues the whole time up there, and he had a really fast car. His car was like perfect compared to mine. I don't know. I got to give it to him on that. I feel like that slide job kind of, or if I was going to do a slide job, it would probably have to be last minute, and it barely worked out, and then I got tight and he got around me, so stuff happens.
It was definitely well executed. Like as far as like a picture perfect slide job goes, like it was really clean, really deep, and it was made it interesting for the final lap there. During the middle of the race, though, did you expect everyone to stay on the top, like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, or because like the other races that we watched had the cars running on the bottom a little bit sooner than expected, and as we were talking to you, it kind of seemed like it was going to be the same way in this particular race, but it just never happened. Was it? You think it was setup driven, or just the big blocks have a much easier time on the top side of the track here?
It was partially kind of how short the race was. Kind of me and Matthew were talking about. There wasn't really enough laps to really get the track racy, and it's mainly top dominant. But yeah, mainly the cars like the top 2. I mean, pretty much every race you've seen, probably all the cars on the top at one point. So yeah, definitely cars.
Yeah, and again, that may be something that the league admins will want to look at. Maybe try to throw a few more laps in there, get it racy. Again, a well-deserved 2nd place finish, though. Again, we still got your chair on special order. I think we got that gold-laced thread for the stitching for your name in the back of the chair because we interview you up here so much. But I tell you what, you said that you were struggling mid part of that race. We seen you bouncing off the wall quite a bit. Did you feel that could potentially cost you more with as much as what you were struggling? Which again, we don't normally see you do that. But I mean, did you feel like you were at risk?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know the wall bites, especially with these cars with the open wheels. Wheels grip up on the wall and try to slow you down and all that. But yeah, I think definitely it was gonna play a factor.
Absolutely. I have to comment again on that slide job. I mean, it's the only thing that it was lacking was the finish. That was it. But that was something that Jeremy and I had talked about during the race, was that a slide job like that, you scrub off so much speed coming out of that corner like that, doing the slide job, that as long as the driver that you are trying to perform that on gets even a mediocre bite off of that corner, I mean, they're going to outrun you going down the straight. Did you feel throwing it in there? I mean, I know as a racer, deep down, every racer, I mean, you got to try it no matter what. Did you feel that it was it was actually going to perform and actually complete successfully when you threw it in there?
I knew I had a pretty good chance. I mean, the top right there had a lot of bite, so I figured to get more drive off than where he would have to cut down and go through the slick and burn his tires up a little bit more. But yeah, I knew there was a pretty good success rate out of that, but I know he had a pretty good car once again. He was really fast, so I have to give it to Matthew once again.
Yeah, and again, it's you give credit where credit is due. Going back and looking at it though, it seems like he could have been he probably knows your racing style and he's pulled enough laps on these tracks just like all the drivers here have. Was probably kind of expecting that as well. So again, you got to put that mindset in there. It's a chess match at 60, 70 mile an hour slides all the way through. So again, it was a well played effort. Got you a runner-up, second place, but again, podium nonetheless. Extended your points lead a little bit more, getting you and edging you ever so close to that championship that you've been going for. So again, overall, it was a good night. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to? Anybody you'd like to say thanks?
First of all, you guys for putting on the stream. I mean, Kenny for putting on the league. All the guys back at Vanderpool Racing, Vanderpool Construction, Ritz Motorsports, Speed Shop 51, Rowdy, Jax Wax. Once again, you guys, that's it.
And we appreciate you showing up each and every week and throwing some dirt around the way that you do and the way that you love doing. So again, it's always been good racing. You guys always put on a good show. So again, congratulations on your well-deserved and well-earned second place finish, just coming up just slightly short. But again, there's always another race. There's always another attempt. There's always another win. So again, that is Sean Krawcheck. Tried to Superman it tonight, just came up a little short, but that is your second place finisher.
All right, and then also it looks like we do have the winner of the Full Sin Gaming 35 with the big block modifieds here. Matthew, do you have a copy?
Yep, I've got you.
All right, Matthew, nice to see you up here in the top spot tonight. Car was pretty on point. Practice qualifying, even during halfway through that race, you were pulling some hell of a lap times. How much preparation did you have going into tonight's event? Because that car was on a whole nother level.
Yeah, so I didn't have a lot. I got in and was waiting for the session to open up, and then from there just kind of went with it. I've definitely turned some laps on the track before and knew I had a good setup from the time that I've ran it in the past, so just kind of relied on that, and the track was perfect for my driving style and what I had in the car tonight.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, yeah, previous experience will definitely help out for sure as far as holding and maintaining a good lap time at this particular track, anyways, because it's such a technical track with being so single grooved and whatnot. But as far as that restart goes, when you saw that caution, what was going through your mind on how to approach the that final restart with 3 to go?
Well, I couldn't believe it, really. We ran the whole race with none, and I had a pretty decent lead there. I was like, oh, here we go. Here's my chance to lose it. And I definitely got in my own head and drove pretty conservative there. But it still worked out. I knew that the big slider was coming, and I kind of pedaled back, waiting for it, and cut under it to get a good, clean, straight run off the bottom so that I had tons of speed.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that's something that we had talked about too when we were interviewing Sean. Because again, you guys put on a hell of a show. You did. You make it look easy, and trust me when I say this, I know it's not easy, just as Jeremy knows it's not easy either, but I tell you what, I mean, it's like poetry in motion out there when you guys are doing your thing and you guys are in the zone. To double back on what Jeremy had stated about your car being on point, the track record here for an official practice session was like 12.3. It was going to be like your second place. First place, I believe, was 11 something, but that seems... I don't know how accurate that is, but a 12.3 was sitting right there at second place, and you were hitting 12.4. So, I mean, your car was on point. Did you know that your car was that fast in comparison to any of the world records?
When I got into qualifying I knew I was fast, and then I actually in the heat race hit a 374, which is my personal record. I don't know how that stacks up against anyone else. But yeah, I knew it was good. I knew it was. I was timing the rotation of the car right and getting on it at the right time. It felt great.
And it looked great, to say the least. Uh, again, everything culminated up to that last run, that 3-lap run there when that caution came out. I know your heart had to sink on that because you had easily a straightaway lead on Sean at that point in time, and that instantly just brought you guys right back together. Now you said that you were expecting that slide job, and that's what we were talking with Sean about was that you pulling enough laps, you probably know and expect that it was going to come. And with you racing as conservative as what you did you have the confidence in yourself and in the track and in your car that you were going to be able to cut that low after that attempted slide job?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just the way the car was running. I actually am a little mad at myself for making it that close over the last 3 laps. I drove probably a half lane lower and more conservative than I normally would have, or I had the previous 32 laps. But yeah, when it came time into the last corner and I saw that he was right there, I knew it was coming, and you just have to make adjustments right then and there. And I don't know. Sean's great as far as that. We were talking before the race. I've raced a lot with him in official races in another league, and yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew where he was coming from. I'd have done the exact same thing, and I would have expected him to run the cut down on me and get right under me and go to the win.
And I tell you what, it paid out. I mean, both of you guys ran a good race. It paid out for you. That cut down worked out real well. But like you said, you were running a more conservative line. We had been seeing you dragging your right rear against that wall there quite a bit. So to see you run conservative there kind of surprised us. But again, it paid off in the end. Good overall night for your team, not just your personal team, but also with Justin up there. You got 2 cars in the podium. So again, it was an overall good night for you, and it was well earned and deserved by you guys. So again, this is your time. Do you have anybody that you'd like to say thanks to? Any sponsors you'd like to holler at?
Mic off.
Oh yeah, definitely. So first, I want to thank you guys for putting on the stream, and Dispatch Brewing and IKR Racing and Justin. I mean, we spent a lot of laps together. Other than that, just really thankful for the show.
Mic on.
I tell you what, we appreciate everything that you guys did, showing up and pulling what you did. Look, hopefully we can see you more often, because I tell you what, you guys put on a great show and always do. We always enjoy seeing new faces come here and seeing that level of competition each and every week increase. So again, congratulations on your win. Hope to see you again next week. Go celebrate with your team. It's well deserved. Again, that is Matthew Bixby, your main feature winner for tonight for the Full Send Gaming Nationals here at Fairbury. I tell you what, Jeremy, overall, it was a good race. Yeah, we had talked about numbers and everything else, but don't tell these drivers anything about numbers, because I tell you what, they left everything out there on that track, and they were given all of it. And some of them probably left a little bit more out there on that track, or more so the walls than what they probably would have liked.
I was gonna say the wall took the pounding. The track did well.
Mic off.
Didn't spread out like the drivers had commented earlier. So I kept a little more single file, which it's a product of this track and this car. It was still good racing overall. Middle of the race got pretty spaced out, but that late race caution definitely stacked them back up and gave us an exciting finish there to watch for sure. I'm sure some of these drivers are definitely ready to move on to next week, because this track is, or typically rather, can be very challenging.
Mic on.
Yeah, it can be. We've seen that quite a bit with some of the drivers that typically they do not struggle, and we did see some struggling today. So again, probably ready to get this track back behind them and moving on to next week to bigger and better things, and hopefully onto that big victory. So again, Jeremy, it's come to that time. Any final thoughts on tonight's events?
I personally want to congratulate Jonathan Henry on the pure stock race earlier this evening with the broadcast being cut short. I know you already congratulated him, but good job on his part for getting his first win of the season. Good to see it. Some new faces in victory lane. Tonight's been fun. Definitely a little bit of a change up there with the first race not going as planned. But overall, it was a really fun night. I think you would agree as well. I'm just I'm still learning these cars, man. These big blocks. I'm not good with them personally, so being up in this broadcast seat gives me a good perspective. And each and every week, I think I get a little better personally at these particular cars.
Watching these drivers, it's understandable how you can get better. These drivers, they know their stuff. They know how to run it. They run clean races, and they're fast. As you can tell, I mean, we've had drivers tonight with Matt Bixby getting that close to world record. We had it. What was it last week? I believe that we had Krawcheck and Gage were like both in the top 5 of world record time. So the drivers are fast, and they know how to run it. So it's always a good show, especially when we can see them really have to push it to the limit like that. So again, overall, it was a great night. I personally enjoyed it. I always enjoy calling the races with you. Like you said, apologies from Nerd TV and Nerditudes to the entire roster for the Pure Stock series. That we had technical difficulties and could not call that because, again, we love calling those races as well because they are always action-packed and a lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of beating and banging that you have going on. So, again, we apologize to that entire driver roster. We will be back next week, and we'll be sure to put on a hell of a show for you guys to make it up. That much is guaranteed. But again, we do want to congratulate Jonathan Henry on his A-Main victory in the Full Send Gaming 35 in the Pure Stock Series. Again, he's always been up there, well-deserved. Just unfortunate and upset that we couldn't call it every step of the way to see that victory there. Otherwise, Jeremy, again, great night of racing, but it has come to that time. Unfortunately, we need to say goodbye. So on behalf of myself, Dustin Logston, and my partner in crime, the legend, the myth, the man, Mr. J. Stan, Jeremy Stanley, and everybody at Nerditudes and Over the Limit, Full Send Gaming, Mini Motorsport Doors, Nerditudes, and Hideaway Motorsports, thank you again for watching live. If you're watching on a replay, we appreciate that as well. Be sure you follow, like. That way you get all the news and updates on what's going on when we go live and when these guys really want to push that to the limit. That way you can stay up on all the racing action. Until then, until next week, stay safe out there for the holiday weekend. Have fun, and we'll catch you guys at the track.